Right.
it gets him all messed up.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's cool to some degree if you want to do it to someone or have it done to you. To me, I don't think I could personally do that for myself, but I would try it on someone else.
Yeah, and see, and what's interesting is I've also had to get comfortable with, my own personal boundaries of what I will and won't do.
Oh, I have that too also, yeah.
Because like I said, I can sit and watch it for days. I'm not even sure I want to do that to someone, but I have no qualms about watching it. None whatsoever. Right. I even sat in on a class on fisting just for the sake of being able to see that up close, live, and in person.
Right.
And I'm still fascinated by it. Just the idea that you can get yourself to that point. Now, seeing it done to a woman in her vagina, I know babies come out of there, so I know it's not that big a deal, but it's still a big deal.
Of course.
Still a big deal, especially, watching someone put both their hands in there and doing all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, damn, okay, wow.
Well, yeah, you're right about that. Like, women give birth to babies, and most babies are pretty big, but a guy in particular who gets fisted, that's a whole different experience.
Yeah, that's another totally different thing. And, I remember being, the Atlanta Eagle, which is now closed, but they had a store on their lower level. And in that store, they had these toys in varying sizes, these butt plugs, I guess, we're going to call them butt plugs, in varying sizes. And they had one that was probably comparable to this bedpost topper.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Because I remember seeing it, thinking to myself, who the hell is going to sit on that? And the guy who worked in the store, explained to me that there were a series of them, and that people worked their way up to this bigger size. Now, just for the sake of perspective and when I say big, if you can imagine, like a pitcher, a glass pitcher, a round one, or even if you think of the little Kool-Aid man, how round he is.
Right.
If you imagine the top of the Kool-Aid man sort of came to, sort of a narrow top, like a teardrop.
Right.
That's the kind of big we're talking about. Like,
oh my God.
Not say as big as the Kool-Aid man, but large in the sense that it's some unreal size.
Right.
And I just was like, okay, and you who wants to train their asshole to open up that big?
I don't know either. Like I was saying earlier, I had bought Cupcake, one of those anal snakes, and it's probably about 12 inches, about maybe almost a foot long, but it's made out of this really soft, extremely compressible silicone, right?
Okay.
So I had Cupcake on her back, and, I'm putting it in, and it's going in and going in and going in. Finally, it goes all the way in. So I ask him, I'm like, how do you feel? He goes, wow, it feels pretty good, actually.
Wow.
It compressed. So basically, when you put it in, the Bad Dragon, like some of their dildos, that really extremely soft silicone?
Yes. Yeah,
this anal snake is made out of that same material.
Ah.
So it compresses and kind of expands inside. So I'm wondering if that anal plug that you were talking about, that's the size of like a small wine bottle, right? Or is the same material.
That's a thought, because I didn't touch it. I didn't want to touch it. I didn't know if it had been used in a demonstration or anything.
Oh yeah, I don't blame you. Like caution, handle at your own risk.
But that is definitely a good question.
Yeah.
Because listen, I think what your toy is made of is also really significant.
Oh, absolutely.
In how you experience it. Because
Right.
I've had some toys where I was like, ooh, that does not feel good.
Yeah,
And
some of the like jelly dildos that they used to make back in the day are really, really terrible. And
yes,
I have a couple of them still, and actually they're on their way to the dump probably like
yeah,
next week or so. They're going to be destroyed. Because no joke, no matter where you put them, the rubber like oxidizes and kind of melts almost. And
yes,
when you go to use it, either, if it's your own personal toy, obviously you're not going to share it with anybody else. When you go to use it, it like drags, it like rips out your guts from the inside.
yeah,
So
yes,
those ones I really don't like, but I highly enjoy silicone dildos because they're smooth, they're not really porous, they don't really absorb, the lubricant that you
lube,
use it
yeah,
right. So so I always tell people, do not use oil lubricant on
right,
silicone toys.
right.
It's a
Then
big
you're gonna
no-no.
you'll start breaking that sucker down. You know,
Exactly. So you got to use like water-based or even silicone. Like I like the silicone lubricant. That with the silicone toy is like perfection.
yeah.
you know.
Now, I can't think of what brands, but I had a hybrid one time that was absolutely awesome.
Oh, maybe it was by our sponsor, Spunk Lube. They make a hybrid.
I don't think it was Spunk Lubes because I've got a lot of their stuff. This was something else. I can't remember if I got it at Exotica, if I got it at a toy store. Because like when we travel, we always look for the nearest toy store to buy something from the area that we may not see somewhere else.
Right,
Um,
right.
and I'm mad that I don't think I kept it after it was empty. Because with things like that, I'll keep the bottle.
Yeah,
Just
because
so
you
I
can
can
always
try
like
to
look
find
it up online or something and buy it.
exactly.
Right, right.
But it was. Now, see, now that you've said that, I'm going to have to go digging through my drawer because the drawer is filled with lube. I might have kept the bottle, but
Ah.
there was what I loved about it is how that phrase "a little dab will do ya."
right.
This was one of those things where you could literally do 1 or 2 drops, and it was so slick
Wow.
that it worked wonders. You didn't have to, because sometimes you got to do more than your needs, more than you probably should on the toy, but it makes it feel really good. Well, this hybrid lube had the ability to sort of coat the toy with just a little bit of the liquid. Yeah, I'm a little obsessed with lube, so.
Oh, well, that's good. Do you personally like flavored lube? I mean, I don't know. I've seen it advertised. I'm like, who the fuck would eat flavored lube?
I do not. I say that having intentionally bought flavored lube just to see if it really mattered, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
Because, if you think about it, we've had a lot of beverages that were flavored that you're like, ooh, that tastes like chemicals. Like, lube is definitely chemicals.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So
why are you
already
ingesting that stuff?
yes. Like, why waste time buying flavored lube? And I remember being a teenager, or maybe not quite teenager, but
like in your late teens, early 20s, right?
Right, where you get the boyfriend who tries to convince you to give him head by saying, "Hey, we can use flavored lube." And I'm thinking about that. Then I'm like, yeah, nope, it was nasty then. It's still nasty now. It's not even worth it. I mean, yeah, no. Now, I will say I am a huge fan of warming lubes.
Oh, yeah, I like those too. Yeah.
Oh, my God. I
Makes
love
it nice and
lube.
hot.
Yes.
Even hotter than it already is.
There you go. Oh, my gosh. I think I'm even at that point now where I'm a little obsessed with it. Like, I can use regular lube, sure, fine. But that's going to come after I've done the warming lube. Like, give me a warmer... even if it gives me a little tingle, like, oh, I love that. Absolutely love it. I mean, because honestly, with that, you could just blow on me, and I'm like,
Ooh, yeah, exactly.
sticking to the ceiling, so to speak, just because it everything is just all super sensitive and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Now, how do you know Lorenzo? Is he your boyfriend or your partner or?
All of the above. Yes.
Oh, he is. Okay. He's your husband, maybe? I didn't ask. I was
No, not my husband.
Okay.
Not my husband. But yeah, no, we've been together. Oh, gosh, it's been a minute.
How long? Over 10 years?
Not that long, but 2014.
Oh, so you and me and Cupcake are together since 2014 also. So actually, this summer will be 8 years for us. So
yeah, I'm trying to think. No, I take it back. It might be 2013.
Okay.
And he's gonna shoot me for not knowing it exactly. But,
and if he's listening to the show,
yeah, don't shoot me. But yeah.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, because I'm just like I hate to say it. I'm trying to do the math. I'm like, okay, I broke up with this one this year, and then a year went by, and I think I met him in that year. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm doing that kind of math.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But it's been a while. I mean, he was there just before I started doing. So maybe it was 2013.
Okay.
He was there just before I published the stories. He was a part of the reason I published the stories, and so yeah.
And here's a question: Were you into kink when you met him, or did he kind of?
Yes.
Yeah, you were. Okay, that's what I figured. Gotcha.
Yes, and you know his history goes way back. So one of the books that I released is called John. It's filled with stories that are his.
Right.
And you know, he's got quite the history because you know he's spent 35 years in law enforcement.
I know he had mentioned that he did everything from narcotics to prostitution to civil to drugs. He sent me his bio and I was like, oh my god! And he's been in BDSM for over 40 years, right?
Not over 40 because he's not quite that old. Wait, let me think. How old? Yeah, not quite that long.
Okay, gotcha.
But a very long time. And, you know, not to tell all his story because he's going to come and tell his own stories.
Right.
One of the things that always cracks me up when he does talk about his experience is talking about it in terms of being a police officer and being into the scene at the same time.
I know, that's interesting, because most people like to role play that whole idea.
Right. So for him, you know, when you're going to some of these locations, these dungeons, these clubs, these whatever, you know, here's a person who knows the language, understands what's going on, and so he'll talk about, and I'll let him tell you the stories himself, but, you know, he says that he would ask questions of the people on the scene in a particular way so that their response doesn't get them in trouble, because there were things that were being done that technically people should get arrested for.
Right.
You know, so, you know, it's always interesting to hear him talk about it from not just the knowledge of being a kinkster, but from someone who knows the law and knows what is and is not allowable. And if the police show up to your house or show up to the location of where you're at, you better know what to say so you don't end up in handcuffs behind bars, and not in a good way.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. We've had lots of conversation about it. I've had him on the show to talk about that because, you know, when you think about it, we get caught up in our experience and we plan things out, and, you know, we've got safe words and we vet people and we do all these things to be safe.
Right.
But it never occurs to us that the police could show up at the door.
Right.
And because we feel we've done everything right, we very honestly say, hey, here's what we're doing and this is what's going on. And never once thinking that